In this demonstration, we're going to look at creating collections. Collections have many uses, but a collection is, basically speaking, a collection of users or a collection of devices. What we'll then do with these collections that we create, we'll then use them for some sort of management task, whether that be deploying software, software updates, maintenance plans, power plans. So we may decide that we create a collection for every single task that we want to create within our config manager system. A couple of different ways that we can create collections. So one of the ways we can do it is by a direct rule. This is basically where we select things and we add them to a collection. Or we could do it based off a query. So we may want to know all of the devices and create a collection based off something like amount of RAM available in those devices. A third way we can create collections is anything we can do in the graphic user interface, we can near enough do through PowerShell as well. First thing we'll have a look at here is just creating a collection by using a direct rule. What we're going to do is we're just going to come into Configuration Manager. We've come into our Assets and Compliance workspace. We've come into Assets and Compliance, and we're just going to come down to Devices. Now in Devices, what we want to do is we want to create a device collection with two members. So we're going to use lon-cl1 and lon-cl2. Now I've highlighted both of them by using my Control key. What I'll now do is just right click, and we'll add the selected items, and what we're going to do at this point here is we're going to add these to a new device collection. That brings me into Wizard. So what we need to do to start with is just give this a name. I'm going to call this London Test Collection. Should ideally put a comment in, so let's just make it the same. Now we've done that, we need to specify our limiting collection, and the purpose of a limiting collection is it just establishes the resources that we can add to this collection by using some sort of membership rule, or it's the, shall we say, the parent collection. So we'll browse this through, and what we're going to do at this point here is we've got the default one of all systems, which is all systems, and then we'll select OK. Now we've done that, we'll read through everything, make sure we're happy with everything, and just select Next. In the case of membership rules, yep, we went with direct, so we're happy with this, and we'll select Next. Read the summary and select Next, and then we'll select our Close button. So what we've done at this point here, we've now created our new device collection, and we've called that one London Test Collection. Now what you might notice here, it's telling me I've got no members. We know there are, we've just seen me add them, so we'll just right click at this point here, and all we're going to do is we're just going to update the membership. So if we have a look here, click on Update Membership, say yes, pop it up to 2, double click, and what we have at this point here is we can see lon-cl1, lon-cl2. Another way to create a collection is to do it via a query. So what we're going to do is we're just going to come to device collections at this point here. Now we've done that, we'll just right click and we'll create a device collection. Just on the general page I need to give it some information, so again I just need to fill out the name. I'm going to call it Windows Servers. In the case of my limiting collection at this point here, what we'll do is we'll limit this to, again, just all systems, and select OK. Then we'll select our Next button. We've got our membership rule, so we'll add a rule. So we've got a direct rule where we add things directly. We've got a query, this is the one we're currently doing. We could have a device category rule, so base it off the category of a device. We can include collections within this collection, or we can exclude. So I could have, for example, not Windows servers. So what we'll do though is we'll go for a query rule. Now we've got our query rule in place, we just need to fill out some information. Calling this Windows servers, then what we'll do is we'll just edit our query statement. Then what we'll do is once we get into the wizard, we'll just modify our query. And what we're going to do is on the general page, I'm not going to add any information just on the general page, but what I'm going to do is come to my criteria tab and select new. Then what we're going to do is we're going to select our select button. We're going to go for a system resource. And then what we're going to do in the case of our attribute is we're just going to click on the drop down under attribute, and we're just going to go for operating system and version. So we'll scroll down towards the O's. There we go. We'll select OK. Then we'll go is like. And then what we'll do at this point here is we're interested in servers, so we'll do %server%. And once we've got that in place, we'll just select OK. And we'll select OK again. And we'll select OK again. And now what we've got is we've added in our query for Windows servers. I'm not going to use any incremental updates. I'm happy to do this every 7 days and select next. Read through my summary and select next. Go through the progress and select close. And again, what we have is we now have our Windows servers. So we'll right click and we'll just update our membership. We'll say yes. And as we can see, we now have 3 systems in here. So we'll just double click. And based on that, what we've got is LonCFG, LonServe1 and LonServe2. And the third way to create a collection is to do through Windows PowerShell. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click my start button. So what we're going to do is just come to Windows PowerShell. And in Windows PowerShell, what we're going to do is we're just going to find ISE. I'm just going to right click this and I'm just going to run this as administrator. That'll launch up Windows PowerShell ISE. Now what we'll do is we'll just maximise this up just to make it a little bit easier to read. And the first thing we need to do is we just need to actually add in the plugins that will be used by Configuration Manager. So I'm just going to get rid of this commands window just to make this a little bit easier to read. And what I've typed in at this point here is I've typed in import-module, and we're specifying the module to be in SQL and program files, x86, Microsoft Config Manager, admin console, bin, config manager, .psd1, and we'll just run this commandlet. Now we've run the commandlet, all we'll do is we'll just actually come into the site. So we'll do that by doing a cd s01 and then we'll just stick in our colon. And now what we'll do is we'll just issue the commandlet to create our collection. And the commandlet I'm going to use for that is new -cm user collection -name. I'm going to create this as called managers, and the limited collection will be all users. So what we can see at this point here, it has created my collection. So my collection is now created. It's created without any members. The next thing we need to do is we do need to add some members. So again, we'll just issue a PowerShell commandlet to add some members in. What we're doing is we're adding -cm user collection query membership rule. Collection name will be managers. Query expression will be, if we have a look at this, basically select all users from, scroll this along, all users from an organization unit called anything with managers in it. And then what we'll do is the rule name, we'll call that rule managers. And final thing to do is just verify that. So we'll just come in and we'll issue the commandlet to just verify that we have created the collection and the collection does actually have some information in it. And the commandlet I'm going to issue is get -cm user collection -name managers. And if we look down here now, what we can see is we've got a member count of 31, so we've got 31 members in there. And if we have a look up here, it is definitely called managers. And if we just come into our Config Manager console, if we just come into our user collections, what we should see at this point here is managers. And if we just right click, what we'll do is we'll just show the members. As you can see, it has indeed added in the members into our user collection. This is really useful if we're doing bulk tasks. We can create an initial script and then create lots of collections from that initial script by just changing some of the values. That's the end of this demonstration.